NFL Week 5 preview, New Orleans Saints versus Kansas City Chiefs. This is on Chris Sims Unbuttoned with Mike Florio. 2 5s make it 10, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to go ahead and start our preview for the Chiefs-Saints. I'm on record. That's the face of the franchise, fastest growing channel in New Orleans sports media, as saying I think the Saints have a great chance in this game. I like the Saints plus the points. Right now it's 5.5. Could get to 6, depends on who you ask. Could get to 6 come kickoff. But I think the Chiefs and the Saints are two very different teams in the fact that Chiefs are undefeated, but not playing very well. The Saints are 2-2, but playing very well. I think that represents an opportunity where the Saints are undervalued, the Chiefs are overvalued, and I like the points. Now, certainly doesn't mean you're going to go into Arrowhead on primetime and win. Okay, ask the Bengals how that goes. Ask the Ravens how that goes, right? The Chiefs find a way. They just seem to do that. And they have done it for over 2 seasons now, being back-to-back Super Bowl champions. But I predict a one-possession game. I think it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 21-17, 23-20, something like that. All right, so think right there. I think you're looking at a slugfest, one-possession game. The biggest issue for the Saints is what they do about Kansas City's defensive line. Kansas City's defensive line is the reason why they beat Atlanta. I mean, once the 2 offensive linemen went out, Chris Jones completely took over the game. The pressure up the middle completely took over that game, and Atlanta had no answer. The Saints, similarly, injured on the offensive line. We all know that. And the question is, can they neutralize that front? Can they neutralize the Kansas City Chiefs' defensive front? If they can't, it might be a long night. If they do find a way to, and I'm not saying that these two teams are similar, but they found a way to neutralize Dallas's front. So if they can neutralize the Chiefs' front, maybe we'll be okay. But I am envisioning a hard-fought, close game in primetime.
Monday Night Football. No simultaneous overlapping doubleheader this week, thank God. It's just the Saints and the Chiefs.
You know what's crazy about that? Like, people make a big deal about that. I don't really get it. Like, on Sundays at noon, there's like 8 games going on, and no one cares. Like, no one has any trouble watching like 8 games simultaneously. Saturday, college football, there's 40 games happening at the same time. Saturday night, there's plenty of games happening at the same time. We can't figure out how to watch 2 games simultaneously. I think at this point, we've all figured out like how to watch multiple games simultaneously. I'm surprised that people are making such a big deal about the doubleheader.
In New Orleans, site
Kansas City
of the next Super Bowl. So for
games in KC there, Mike.
The Chiefs.
It's at Kansas City.
No, it's not. Oh, it is at Kansas City. Why did I think it was at New Orleans? I've been saying all week it's at fucking New Orleans. What's wrong with me?
You're not that smart. It's well documented.
What is wrong with me?
You're not that smart. It's well documented.
I'm serious.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if there's ever any evidence of why, it's just unbelievable. Mike Florio, I'm not saying you can't make a mistake, but good Lord. Lord have mercy.
I've had it in my head all week that game is in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel differently about it.
Okay. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, go ahead.
I'm trying to think of all the...
I'm trying to think of whatever.
I'm trying to think of how many times this week I've talked about that game and said it was in New Orleans.
Right.
I'm very concerned about that.
Yep.
All right.
Well,
anyway, you go ahead and give me the winner. I got to rethink.
You can tell these guys don't bet because if Florio thought it was at New Orleans the entire week, I would have been hammering Saints plus 5.5, and then I would have quickly realized, they're actually in Kansas City. So you can tell these hombres are not down with the business.
I got to rethink my pick. It's Chiefs 5.5-point favorites at home against the Saints.
Okay, all right. You're picking the Chiefs no matter what, aren't you? Anyways, I mean, you're not. No.
Well, no, I was.
This is a 4-minute and 46-second video. We are at the 1-minute mark. Okay. A fourth of the video, let's just say a fifth. A fifth of the video, all right, 20% for all of you in the back. 20% of this video so far has been Florio and Sims talking about how the game is in New Orleans. LOL, actually it's in Kansas City. We don't know nothing. Yuck, yuck, yuck. 20%. so far.
I was going to pick the Saints in New Orleans. I was going to pick the Saints to win.
Yeah.
And now I got to rethink it.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, it is in Kansas City, right? The Saints D is good.
Yes.
It is. I'm not a believer in that defense, right? They've had one bad outing this year, and it was the Eagles, and they didn't let up a lot of points. But Kansas City doesn't have the Eagles' firepower. They don't have that offensive line. They don't have that. So I think in a lot of ways, the Saints defense matches up good with Kansas City.
Yeah, agreed.
They can play man-to-man. They can play zone. They're physical up front. I don't think the Chiefs, like I said, will be able to run the ball. And without Rashee Rice, I do worry about them getting open consistently in the passing game.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I mean, you're talking about the Saints' one big issue, or an issue at times with the defense, is the ability to stop the run. Well, I have no faith in Carson Steele or Samaj P. Ryan or who the hell ever to really be a dominant factor in this game. If we lose because Carson Steele has 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, or Samaj P. Ryan has 100 yards, so be it. It is what it is. So I think their offense is it's stop Patrick Mahomes. We know what it is, and we know what they want to do. They want to kind of do the short pass, dink and dunk down the field, and without Rashee Rice, that takes a lot of firepower away from the Kansas City Chiefs. And Travis Kelce is certainly not the Travis Kelce of old. Is he still dangerous? Sure, but he's not the same guy who you're worried about getting 12 catches for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns. So defensively, the Saints do match up pretty well in this spot against Kansas City. I would say the Saints have a better defense and the Chiefs have a good offense. If you're drawing the power rankings of the two sides, I would give that to the Saints. I would give the defensive edge over the offense to the Saints. You could argue the same. You could argue that the Chiefs' defense might be better than the Saints' offense. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch. Let's go ahead and check DVOA. All right, so if we're looking at DVOA here, we do the offensive DVOA. Saints are 9th. Defensive DVOA, Saints are 2nd. Chiefs are 15th. So actually the Chiefs' defense is worse than the Saints' offense if you're doing it that way. And the Chiefs' offense is 10th. So, yeah, I mean, the Saints have a huge advantage DVOA-wise. If they have the 2nd best defense compared to the 10th best offense, and then we have the KC, 15th defense to the Saints' 9th best offense. So in both situations, the Saints seemingly have the advantage, and that's where I kind of come down on this, and listen, DVOA is not everything. It's one metric. There's a million of them. Okay, but we're just going to use this for this video. DVOA takes strictly what's happening this season. There's no priors. There's no preconceived notion of how good players are, or what players can do, or a team's winning culture and all that stuff. So you do have to kind of skew some of this for Patrick Mahomes. He is that good. Just like you would skew it for Tom Brady, where this rank right here, they're the 10th best offense. Okay, well, in a 2-minute game on the line type situation, they're probably number 1. Why? Because they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's that simple. So, but the point of this is that if you just look at the performance of this season, the Saints have been playing better than the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The Chiefs are 4-0. Okay. That's it. That's the only thing that the Chiefs have done better than the Saints so far this year, if you look at just strictly offense, defense, DVOA, and whatnot. So, that's good for the Saints. Bad for the Saints, injuries, plenty of injuries. Everyone knows about that. Bad for the Saints. We're on the road at Kansas City, prime time. And, but just the pure performance, you gotta like the Saints' chances,
right? I don't think they have enough there in the passing game to expose a team like the Saints defense. All right, the Chiefs, right, also have to be careful a little bit here of overplaying the Saints run game on the other side of the ball. I think that's another big aspect of this. Again, I'm not just because they lost us last week. They outplayed the Falcons. I'm not.
Yeah, and look at what the Saints just. Look at the Saints-Falcons. Saints didn't allow a touchdown. Saints really good against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons last week. And look what the Falcons just did against the Bucs. Falcons had 500-plus yards of passing. The Falcons had a ton of yards, a ton of points. They did whatever they wanted to through the air. Yet against the Saints, they did absolutely nothing. Nothing. So just that alone, I know, there's a lot of variables. You can't compare a game to another game like that, but this is a very high level way of looking at this. But if you look at those two situations, it's obvious who has a better defense. It's obvious how good the Saints defense is when you watch the Falcons perform how they did on Monday night, and then you remember how the Saints looked against them.
Not off the bandwagon of the Saints and what they do. I think they're going to be able to run the ball on the Chiefs, and they'll be able to run it enough to where we know the Chiefs will take some chances and go all out to stop it and leave their corners on an island or do something aggressive, and this ain't the team you want to do it with Rashee, Shaheed, and Olave.
I mean, let's just take a look back at DVOA of the defensive DVOA real quick here. If you're looking at, and I want to look at rush defense. So the rush defense, KC's second in rush defense. KC is 19th in pass defense. Okay. As far as DVOA, they are the 15th best defense. Weighted, they are the 15th best defense. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we know what we were going to have to do. But we knew that coming in. We knew that defensive line was going to be able to really impose its will in this game. So can New Orleans take advantage of a less than stellar Chiefs secondary? Can Chris Olave do his thing? Can Rashee Shaheed find that form again of getting deep down the field?
I'm going Saints 27-20 to pull off the upset on the road against Kansas City.
Damn.
So you were trying to rope-a-dope me.
Well, yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, yeah,
Chiefs,
I mean, you're so freaking dumb. You're gonna pick the game. You don't even know where it is. And I thought this was a game that you would pick the Chiefs because they're at home and all that. And now you got to hear my explanation, and you're gonna jump on the bandwagon with me. So
remember, ladies and gentlemen, I've said this for a long time, and it rings true. Inside every joke is a little bit of truth. So when Chris Sims is sitting there saying, "You're so dumb, you did this," and blah, 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 I guarantee you, subliminally, there's a little bit of truth to what he's saying. There's a little bit of he believes what he's saying. Don't ever let someone tell you differently. 99% of the time, there's a little bit of truth in every single joke.
It's really, we're putting this an asterisk next to this game, no matter what now.
When I thought the game was to be played in New Orleans, I believed the Saints would win 24-23. I am changing it, though, now that I know it's in Kansas City.
All right.
I don't like the Chiefs to cover.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have been playing with their food and or the kid who doesn't study for the test and still barely gets an A. I'll go 24-20 Chiefs in this one. Gut feeling. They haven't done anything to...
So what was it? 24-21 Saints, and then he flipped it. So he flipped it 8 points because of home field. Seems like a little bit much. Mike.
Replace Rashee Rice so far. And I think the Saints can keep it close. And Derek Carr's got a history of playing in Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah.
So he can at least impart something.
That sounds kind of square, but I think that it is maybe not important, but I think it is worth noting that when you play in a tough environment like Arrowhead or the Superdome or in college, like if you play at the Big House or in Tennessee or whatever, doing it for the first time is very difficult. Doing it the third or fourth time is a little less difficult. So the fact that Derek Carr can kind of instill some calm in the team of hey, I've been here before. This is what you can expect. Here's what it will be like. Here it is. Tyrann Mathieu, same thing. So these guys, Arrowhead is not fun to play in. I'm not trying to downplay Arrowhead, but the fact that you got two big-time leaders, two big-time voices in the locker room who are probably pretty comfortable in this environment, I think is big for this team, especially when one of them, and Tyrann is not the green dot, DeMario is the green dot, but especially when one of them is calling the offensive plays. When one of them is the communicator, the fact that they are comfortable in the environment in which they are communicating is a big deal.
To his teammates, don't get freaked out about it, and maybe be calm in the eye of the storm. But that Chiefs defense is too good to get burned by the Saints offense. And man, they're going to go from 2-0 to 2-3, and that's a problem. And that's why I believe they would win at home.
Right.
They need this one. But I think the Chiefs.
We talked about in the video previously, the whole 2-3, 2-0, 2-3, whatever. Let's say we go 2-3. Then let's say we beat Tampa at home the following week. We're 3-3. Tampa at that point would be 3-3 as well. So it's I understand like going 2-0 to 2-3 is a big deal, but there's a lot of season in front of us. Like, if come week 6 we're 3-3, Tampa's 3-3, the whole season is there. Like a lot of people are trying to make this out to be win or go home. Win or the season's over. I can already feel the Saints faithful. I can already feel the Who Dat Nation. I can already feel the Saints subreddit falling apart. I can already feel them saying, if we lose this game, fire this person, fire this person, fire this person. So, but I think we'll compete. I think it'll be a very close game. I think it'll be very taut. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Like I said, somewhere in that neighborhood, 21-20, 21-17, 23-20, somewhere in there.
The Chiefs pull it off, although I don't feel 100% confident. I never feel 100%
I'm shocked at the 5.5 points.
Confident.
I'm shocked by that. That was one of those where I looked at it and I was like, 5.5 points. Wow. For a team that squeaks by 3 every team they play, and this is a tough matchup. I thought that was kind of a shocker to me.
All right, so real quick, like this is a composite NFL power ranking or power rating. Excuse me. Now this is from a bunch of different groups: Neflo, Massey Peabody, which is unabated, Massey's rating, Predictive's rating, Unexpected Points, Steve Fezzik, and DVOA. Okay, so this is where they rank each team. Now, the composite is on the left, so it's kind of an average of all of those. Now, this is based on an expected spread versus an average team. So, like the composite of 5.8 for the Ravens, that is saying that the Ravens would be a 5.5 point favorite or 5.8 point favorite on a neutral site with no home field thrown in there against an average team. Okay, so let's take a look at what the Chiefs and the Saints are. The Chiefs are 5.4. Because Sims is asking, how do we get to 5.5? Chiefs are 5.4 points above an average team, according to the composite. The Saints are 2.4. All right, so that if you split that, that's 3. All right, so the Chiefs should be 3-point favorites against the Saints, according to this, on a neutral. Saints they're not at a neutral. They're at Arrowhead. Arrowhead's one of the hardest places to play. You can give, it depends on who you ask, somewhere around 2 to 2.5 points. Okay, so if they're 3 points better, according to this, then you throw in 2 points for home field, which then gets the Chiefs to 5 points, 5.5, 5 points. That's how the number. That's where the number comes from. If you want to do the quick ugly math there of how this goes, and then of course you can go and that's a composite, right? So like you can look at different groups. Whoever you trust more, like if you trust Fezzik, Fez has this Chiefs 4.5, Saints 2.5, so he's got the Chiefs 2 points better than the Saints. So according to Fez, this game should probably be closer to 4.5. But just in case y'all are wondering, like Chris is, like how the hell do they get to 5.5? Like this is how you get to 5.5.
I never know whether that's Vegas trying to dupe people into taking the Saints, or whether it's a reflection of the betting trends, or what. Who knows?
That is so. I don't want to make this like a big like betting 101 type thing, but Vegas is never trying to dupe, like the trap line, Vegas dupe line, all that stuff. That does not exist. This is how it happens, ladies and gentlemen. Vegas puts the sports books put odds out there early on. Low limits. Okay, so let's say early on they put out Chiefs plus or Chiefs -8. Low limits. Talking $500 a game. They see respected money come in, what they deem respected money come in on one team or the other. They take those low limits, they see the bets coming in, they use that information to move the number. So if they put Chiefs +8, respected money is taking the Saints, then they will move towards the Saints. So then it'll be Chiefs -7.5, Chiefs -7, Chiefs -6, Chiefs whatever. And they'll use the information with the low limits to massage the line to get to a proper line, where then they know where the line should be because of the information they're getting with the low limits, to then by the time the big limits come out, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday in this situation, the line is basically perfected by the market. So there is no like dupe lines. That That's not the case. Trap lines, all that stuff. I hate when people say that.
Right.
But bottom line, it seems like a little much. That doesn't mean I'm taking the Saints as a best bet to cover.
Yo, homies, thanks for watching.
Holy shit.
It's time.
Holy shit. I think the game's about a point off. I think the game should be 4, somewhere in there. It sounds about right to me with the way that these two teams are playing. I'm playing the Saints 5.5. I would love a 6. Could happen. The betting public loves to bet favorites, especially favorites on prime time. So we'll see. A standalone game, public has a little more influence on the number than not a standalone game. So maybe you'll hold out for a 6. I'll be market watching. I do like the Saints. If it sits at 5.5, I'll play 5.5. But I'm gonna kind of wait and try and see the market and see where it's gonna go. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where I think the Chiefs are a little overvalued here, just numerically, just by the power ratings. I think the Saints probably should be. This game should be 4-ish. We'll call it 4.25 for my for the bettors out there. But on top of that, I think the narrative. I think the Chiefs are a fugazi 4-0. I think the Saints are an undervalued 2-2. I think we've covered the EPA, the DVOA, all of those numbers this entire week. The Saints are playing much better than the Chiefs are currently. I like that. And that's not even factoring in. That's not even factoring in like the Derek Carr and Arrowhead, Tyrann Mathieu and Arrowhead. That's not even factoring that kind of stuff in. It's not factoring in the injuries. It's not factoring in whatsoever. So I like them. I think we have a really good chance here. I think we have a really good chance to keep this thing close. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. And I think it's going to come down to the same thing that's come down to the last 2 weeks, where it's going to be Derek Carr with the ball in his hands in a one-possession game at the end of the game. Can he go win it? And I'm interested. I really hope the Saints win this game, because I'm really interested in what the narrative will be coming out of this game. Because if the Saints beat Kansas City in Kansas City, all of a sudden, this team is going to go from fire Kubiak, fire Dennis Allen, trade Derek Carr. All of a sudden, this team is going to go to, this team is a legitimate contender. A legitimate contender if they win this game. Because we know how good they've been playing behind the scenes. If they start getting the results together, then, watch out. Watch out. So I really hope they win, just so we can see that kind of science experiment of what the narrative would be coming out of that game. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, I'll be live streaming the Chiefs game, celebrating 10,000 subscribers. I'll be streaming the entire game, not the actual game on my screen. I can't do that. But I will be live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, watching the game, commenting, breaking down everything from start to finish. And at halftime, I plan on doing some giveaways. So make sure you are going to be watching the game here with the face of the franchise. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Cheer up, Chris. Jesus. Why so sad? Why such a long face? See you in the next